So we're gonna make a little road trip today. My son's had a job for, I don't know, 6 to 8 months, something like that. And now he's got a whole bunch of money burned a hole in his bank account. He decided he wanted a motorcycle, which, you know, as a parent, you kind of worry about things like that. But I had a motorcycle when I was 16. It was my only transportation. Matter of fact, I got my Interceptor when I was 16, so can't use too many excuses. So we're gonna go look at one, and we figured bring you along for the ride. So what we ended up with was a 2013 Honda CB500F. Has about 10,000 miles on it. It came with some pre-existing conditions, such as it fell over and bent the shift lever and the clutch lever. So we're going to start out by fixing those two items. And I ordered one yesterday evening, and it actually showed up today. I was pretty amazed. So I got that thing in like 18 hours. Now we just need to hope it's the right one. So it feels like there's a 10mm nut underneath. Let's see, Houston, we may have a problem here. We have a problem. So their part numbers apparently weren't exactly true to the cause. So our original attempt at the clutch lever was a bust, wrong part. So he went and found one at Cycle Gear, which fits, but the angle appears to be wrong. If we look over at the brake lever, front brake, just do that little crude measurement there. We're at like 3 inches. Come back over here, we're like 4 3/4. So makes operating the clutch, you're using the ends of your fingers. It's not very comfortable. In contrast, my Interceptor doing the same sort of measurement, we're like 3.5 inches, and it's much more comfortable to operate the clutch. For a beginning rider, that's something you don't really want to worry about. So we're gonna pull this off. I'm gonna see if I can bend it to match the same kind of geometry as the front brake. I have this set up in the vise, clamp with a couple pieces of oak. I'm going to attempt to grab a hold of this thing and just swing it around a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't snap off. Wow, that thing's like butter. Let's go back and test it out. That seemed like quite a bit of movement. Still needs to go some more. Try that. So we've moved it about an inch. We're still a little further, so we're about 3/4 inches further than the brake side, but I don't want to take so much travel out of it that you can't fully disengage the clutch. So for right now, and likely in the future, as soft as that is, we could probably bend it right here in place. So let me put this back together. They might have engineered this in for a beginner's bike. Quick change levers. So it threads into the bar, and then there's just a lock nut on the bottom to keep it from falling out or backing out. That feels a whole lot better. Obviously, too much free play, so let's adjust that. Let's see how that does. Doesn't like that. So I'm a bit of a dumbass. The reason it would shut off immediately is because the side stand was down. I'm not used to these modern safety features. So now that we got that on there and what I believe to be the right amount of free play, it engages a whole lot better, you know, a lot better feel. We will tackle the shifter, which got bent apparently from a dropping incident. So it looks like that's a hex bolt, and that thing should come off. I'm not sure what it's going to take to get the rod out. We might have to unscrew the whole thing. We'll get that off there next. Again, I apologize for the background noise. We missed the lawnmower earlier. Got a brief listen to it, but there's a lake right behind our house, kind of surrounding it. And apparently somebody's out there on a boat testing out their new sound system. So we'll get to enjoy that for a while. Now this rod, probably just going to have to loosen that nut and back that all the way off there. I would assume this thing's like a turnbuckle. It's got a left hand and a right hand thread, and we are on the right hand one. Back here at the motorcycle part reshaping device. Guess we'll start with that. I don't know how well that's gonna, actually, I wonder if that'll come off. All right, that's not coming off there. We'll try to do it with it on. Sort of better. Needs a little more. Getting closer. Let's try that. This looked pretty close on initial trials. think that'll work. It's not crashing into that. It's close enough. Yeah, it's liable to get bent again anyway. So I believe the shifter is as it should be now. Looks like it should shift all right. Up here in the cockpit, something new to me, a check engine light on a motorcycle. Digital dash. Not sure how crazy I am about that, but it's got some trip features too. You can 2 trips, mile per gallon, average. There's how many miles are on it, right over 10,000. I guess you have a clock also, and a fuel gauge. So there's that. Other than that, it's pretty much standard motorcycle stuff that I'm used to anyway. One thing that struck me as a little bit odd about this, and maybe people can comment, it's white paint, kind of looks like a pearl, but the rest of the bodywork is almost matte. I don't know if it's supposed to be that way, and I can't tell if any of that's faded. I don't think it is. I think they just kind of did the dot fade out on that, but of course, like everything we buy lately, doesn't seem to come with an owner's manual. But under the seat, where I would kind of suspect on bikes I'm used to there would be a toolkit, you can see it's a little shinier, like where it was covered up. So that appears to be the paint code, which comes out as a like white pearl. So we might have to repaint this thing because I don't know, it just doesn't look right with the glossy tank and everything else matte. So maybe here in a few we'll go for a ride. So I'm hopeful my test drive footage turned out, but I noticed there seemed to be a lot of backlash in the drivetrain. It calls for, one more thing we got to fix. You can see that the chain guard's not attached to anything, the bolt's gone. Might be able to tuck that out of the way for now. But it's calling for 1 5/8" of free play, and it looks like we don't have an owner's manual either, so that kind of sucks. So 1 5/8", it looks like they're going outside to outside. So what I've done is held the measuring tape up to the outside and then bring it down and push on it a little bit. And if that's outside to outside, we're like 2 1/4 at least. So I'm going to adjust this chain. They also have a wear indicator on here. I'm assuming that's a little notch right there. So it's in the end of the green, but after this adjustment, I'm pretty sure we're going to be in the red. but my Interceptor's been in the red for years and it's been fine. So let's go ahead and try to get that thing adjusted. This side's a little easier to show just because it's on the uphill side. And these bikes, unfortunately, do not have a center stand. So there's a 12 millimeter nut out there on the outside. And a 14, I think, yes, on the inside. This is a 24, and the bolt on the other side is a 22. Shit, it's even smaller than a 22. So let me go find a wrench that fits that. So it looks like that's a 20 millimeter. I do not have that. I have the good old-fashioned metric adjustable, which should do the trick. So that axle bolt's loose. So we will take, and in my experience, it doesn't take a lot to take a lot of turns anyway, take a lot of slack out of a chain. So we'll try to do like half turns at a time on each side, and that should keep everything lined up. May have actually been too much, so let's back off a half a turn. I'm going to give it a quarter and we'll call it good. I don't know what the camera angle looks like. Usually on a measuring tape it never turns out right, but looks to be good enough for me. We will tighten this nut back down on the other side. And see if I can find a bolt to secure that. I'm going to wipe a little motor oil on this chain just because it's a little dry and I'm not sure where my O-ring chain lube can is, but I'm assuming this is going to be an M6 bolt. At least keep this thing from flopping around. So one more thing I've noticed is that rear brake pedal seems awful high, and it doesn't look like it's bent. It may be, I don't know, but there is some adjustment here where it attaches to the master cylinder, so I want to go ahead and try to rectify that before our next little ride. I've already loosened that 12 millimeter nut. I'm assuming this will just screw down in here. Actually, can you go the right direction? And lower that pedal some. Alright, it brought it down some. We'll tighten that up. See what it feels like. Now we'll go for a ride. So I'm taking all that backlash, loosen this out of the chain, help the drivability quite a bit. Still not crazy about the brake pedal position. Need to find another bike and see if that thing really is bent. Either that or I'm just too tall for this bike. I'm 6'1", so my leg's at a pretty severe angle, which pushes my foot down. So it may not be a problem for a shorter rider. But anyway, there's a start on this thing. Thanks for watching and subscribing. See you soon.